Welcome to the podcast, A Drink with Derek. Follow comedian Derek Richards on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and don't forget to subscribe to his YouTube channel and watch all episodes of the podcast. Now grab a drink and join your host, Derek Richards.
Hey, what's going on? Derek Richards here in Las Vegas, and relaxing and enjoying a beautiful, lovely, sunny day here in Vegas. Thanks for joining me. Check out all the episodes of A Drink with Derek available on YouTube. Just go on YouTube, type in A Drink with Derek, and all the episodes will pop up if you want to view them. If you want to just listen to them, get them wherever you get your podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, Amazon. Go on there, and you will find all the episodes that we have. Lots of great shows, including legendary comedian, actor Brad Garrett, Hall of Famer Drew Pearson from the Dallas Cowboys, Roy Wood in The Daily Show, also Al Jackson from Daily Blast Live, and tons of other comedians, musicians. Go on there to YouTube, A Drink with Derek, and see all the magic happening right in front of you. Huge thanks to our sponsor, VegasSportsAdvantage.com. If you're going to bet sports, go ahead and go with people that do the legwork and the research for you, VegasSportsAdvantage.com. And if you want to go ahead and save yourself some money, and who doesn't, type in the promo code Derek35 and get 35% off any of their packages. Again, what happens is they give you their expert picks on games, and you go ahead and make some dough. Also, check out my album Double Down, available wherever you download your comedy. You get your iTunes, you get your Spotify, Amazon. Double Down recorded live at Laughing Comedy Cafe in Fort Myers, where I will be on April 14, 15, and 16. Jamie, Eric, and the crew down there do a fantastic job. My album Double Down is available now. Also, the Irish Comedy Tour is starting up very, very soon. March 3rd, we are going to be in Old Saybrook, Connecticut. But before you come see us live, watch the special on all the platforms down there. You got Dish, DirecTV, Prime Video, YouTube, Vudu, Xbox, Vimeo. Go ahead and check out the special and then see us live. TheIrishComedyTour.com is the website. There you see the schedule. Old Saybrook, Connecticut, heading down to Florida, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, TheIrishComedyTour.com. Excited to have a couple new guys joining us this year. Patrick Garrity is going to be with us the first week. Then Mike Malone is going to be with us the rest of the tour. So very excited about that. And super excited about my guest here today. Comedian, businessman, boxer. You've seen him on Laughs TV on Fox, heard him on Sirius XM satellite radio. He has an album out called $10 Gift Card. So wherever you go ahead and download your comedy, snag that. It is hilarious. Also, he is one of the hosts on the Sal and Bob Show podcast. Wherever you download your podcasts, this one is very, very, very entertaining. My guest today, comedian Bob Phillips on A Drink with Derek.
This is, you guys heard of Our Time? Our Time. Don't pretend you haven't. You've looked at it. Our Time. That's my wheelhouse, man. That's 50 and up. Okay? Our Time. I looked at this and I thought, oh my God, please tell me I don't look like these cadavers. I'm thinking, they shouldn't be on a website. They should be on a slab in a medical university. Our Time. It should be Our Time is Up. Jesus, Lord. Now, Match.com, they do this thing where they want to sort of get your personality, and they get your answers to like 3 questions so to match you with people. And they ask things like, what's your favorite movie? You know, what's your favorite food? What's your favorite band? Our Time is a little different, okay? And like, are you on any prescription medication? Do you have your affairs in order? Who is your emergency contact?
Bob Phillips with me now in Northville, Michigan. I love that bit. That cracks me up. And by the way, the people, the cadavers on Our Time are some of the same cadavers that seem to hit you up on these other dating apps. I'm not going to go into too much detail there, but the pictures. We were talking about this before. I've seen the pictures. It's just, well, first off, welcome. to the podcast. Thanks for taking time to join me from freezing your backside off in Northville, Michigan, throwing salt on your driveway before you came on the show.
Yeah. We finally got up into the upper 30s now. Things are starting to melt. We were in the grip of a deep freeze. Hannibal and I were, having, fun in the snow for the last week and a half.
Hannibal, by the way, is Bob's amazing dog, 170-pound Newfoundland. I mean, the size, it's a love seat with fur. He's the most amazing creature. If he came walking at you and you didn't know what was coming at you, you would literally think that something came from outer space.
Yeah. And he's just a sweet, he's a ragamuffin. He's a rug with legs is what he is.
He is a rug with legs. Those dating app pictures, I want to talk about this for a quick second. We're not going to bring up any of the actual photos because I don't want to get sued.
But we want to.
These people, well, we've been joking. You do? Yeah, we do. And anybody who goes on these dating apps knows exactly what we're talking about here. What is the biggest thing that you notice that annoys you when you see anybody posting a photo on a dating app?
Well, so now that women have access to the filters, in fact, you gave me a tag to a joke that I do about this. They have more filters than Pep Boys, and they. You don't know if you're looking at a human being anymore. They all look like Marty McFly fading out of that Polaroid in Back to the Future. The facial features. You don't know what you're looking at. And I get it. I mean, people of both sexes do this on dating sites. I mean, the knock that men get is that we say we're younger than we are, we have more hair than we do. Women claim that we put up 20-year-old pictures. I mean, I would never do that, but that's their complaint. My complaint is the filter thing. I don't get it. I can't make out whether we're looking at humanoids or some other creature. I don't know.
Well, there was one that you had sent the other day, and we were cracking up. Both myself and Sal D'Amelio, the three of us, are on this thread of sickness. Believe me, if I die, I want somebody to take my phone and throw it into a lake. I don't want any of the stuff that we share back and forth to surface. But there was a girl that was on a dating app. There was a girl that was on a dating app that. Yes, we done beyond done. But there was a lady who had sent a picture, or she had posted on her Bumble profile, and she had she colored her face, and there were glasses on, but you couldn't see her eyes. And I mean, it literally looked like I think one of the comments was, that she was from The Exorcist, and I said it looked like Carrie from the Stephen King movie. It was just, how do you? And then she wanders around. She's at book club complaining why she's still single.
Yeah, I don't get it. I honestly don't. And look, we're all guilty of those kinds of things to some degree. But I don't say I'm 6'2" if I'm 6 foot. I don't say. Right. I'm 42 if I'm 59. And they complain a lot that men misrepresent themselves, but it can't be any worse than what we're seeing.
No, it goes both ways. It really does. But anyhow, enough about that. We could do an entire episode on the crazy stuff that you guys have seen on dating apps. But again, great to have you here with me. I'm excited because you and I have talked multiple times. We've had many drinks with Derek, many drinks with Bob over the years. And there's a lot of layers to the what's that?
That we didn't televise.
No, we did not. And for good reason, to be honest with you. You've got a very interesting background. Starting off as you were a boxer years ago.
I was.
And then you got into business, and now you're doing comedy. So I want to go back to you boxing. When did this start, and how did that? Because you were up to Golden Gloves, correct?
Yeah, I was a Golden Glover, and that was that was as far as I went. There's once you leave the gloves, you either go Olympic, try out for the Olympics, or you just go pro. And it's a funny picture there. Somebody made that for my 50th birthday. I wish I looked like that.
You are ripped.
I know. Yeah. Well,
Now, did you start
things.
doing this when you were a teenager? How did this? Did your dad do it?
No. I just, I don't know. I don't know why I was so fascinated with it because it's not like, I lived in an area where boxing was prevalent. I mean, I was a suburban kid, right? But I was fascinated my whole childhood with Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier, guys that, were getting it done back then. And I always wanted to do it, and my parents wouldn't allow me to do it as as a kid. And so when I moved out, I guess I moved out a little late in life. I was 19, and I was working at a store, and there was a guy that used to come in all the time, and he'd always want to look at the hats, these piss cutters, and what do you call them? I don't remember the name of them. But these old timey sort of Irish hats, you would know the names. And he would talk boxing with me. And I said, wow, I'd really like to know how to do that. So his name was John Doyle, Jack for short, one of the sweetest guys I've ever known in my life, one of my heroes. Took me under his wing and taught me how to box and matched me with, different fights in the area, always amateur fights. I never got paid for this. And started moving up the ranks, I guess, in terms of my skill level. And he said, okay, now, you've done these tournaments and, sort of novice tournaments. It's time for you to take a leap. You're in the gloves now. So I fought several times in the gloves. I did not win the championship. I lost. The closest I came was I lost in the finals in 1984, I think. And that was a bitter disappointment for me because I really thought that I should have won that fight. But, in retrospect, I don't think I did enough. I didn't do enough punching in the third round to warrant a decision. So it's been a regret of mine, but we move on. I still love the sport. I watch it whenever I can. Both of my sons are involved in it. My oldest son is a cage fighter. And you've seen, I just posted on Facebook his latest fight. He starched a guy on Saturday night, took him out in the third round, was beaten and breaks off of him for 3 rounds. And my youngest son, Max, is a classic stand-up boxer. He fights out of Ann Arbor. And he's a great, smooth, quick little welterweight. And so I'm proud of both these guys. I don't know where it's going to take them, but I've taught them all I can. They're way better fighters now than I ever was.
Well, the fact that you, again, it's great exercise for one, and if you're good and you can't get your brains bashed in, that certainly helps out. Do you remember your last fight? So when did you know that you were done?
Just done fighting completely?
Done fighting. You're like, I'm not getting hit in the face anymore. Done.
Well, I can tell you exactly when that was. It was in the locker room after the last Golden Gloves fight, and I had another black eye. I cut a lot too, even though we wore kind of crappy headgear. So I was bleeding. I had a black eye, and I knew that I didn't win that year, and I did all I could to win, and I didn't want to start that whole process over again. And I couldn't turn pro because I just didn't have the fire, to do it. And you got to really want it to be a professional boxer, right? So as I sat in the locker room, I just, I looked at myself in the mirror and went, okay, no more black eyes, no more bleeding. Let's get out of here. That was it.
So now you gotta listen. When you know, and the fact that you had the awareness to get out of it when you did, and not put yourself in harm's way, and really potentially cause more damage. Because, like you said, you've got to be dialed into this. I mean, if you don't have the fire to do this, and the other guy has the fire to do this, he's going to kill you.
Well, that's it. That's all of it in a nutshell. And I didn't have the fire. I had the fire, to get to where I was. I was a good Golden Glover, but it's a whole other level to be a pro fighter. Mm-hmm. You got to live it, and I wasn't ready to do that.
Yeah, that's a whole new level of crazy that you got to dial yourself. you got to tie yourself into. So between boxing and comedy, you've had a very extensive business career, very successful business career. You had a advertising and marketing firm. Is that correct?
Well, I had a small ad agency back in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s. And then I had my third child and said, you know what, it's time to put this particular dream away, because it was only me and another person. And I was making okay money, but my father had started a business way back in '67 that some of my family was working in. And I asked him, I said, hey, look, if I come back, can I run the marketing show there? And he said, absolutely. But you got to go get another degree. So I had to put myself back through school again for another 3 years, and came out and ran the marketing show for that family business for 26 years, something like that. And
Wow.
yeah.
That's impressive. There's some really cool pictures I want to go ahead and pull up on the screen here real quick. This is from back in your business days with your family's company. Well, this here first is actually your show in Las Vegas that you and I had done
And
together
yes,
over
and
at
thank you for
Downtown
that.
Grand. That was a lot of
That
fun.
was a big weekend for me, and thank you.
That was a great time. So now the next picture here, Sean, is let's see. Okay, this is you and our buddy Sal.
Yeah, good old Sal.
That's the Sal and Bob show right there. By the way, we'll talk about the podcast here in just a little bit, and
Yep.
also I want to see some of these pictures here from back in your business days. This is back now. How long ago was this? This is you and George W. Bush.
That's W. And next to me is my mother, my sainted Newfie mother, Bridget Noel Phillips. All
God rest her
5'2".
soul. I wish I could have met her. All the stories you told me about her, she just seems like an
Oh, you
amazing
love her.
lady.
She'd love you too. Every
Oh.
Irish people know where the other ones are in the room. So yeah, that's W and me. He came to visit us back in 2003, so 19 years ago. And it was an interesting story about that. That was the day after we killed Uday and Hussein. Remember those two knuckleheads?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they were holed up in a house, and we had invaded, and we got you remember they had the playing cards of all the people they were going to get.
Oh yeah.
And checking them off in the nightly news. Well, these two idiots were holed up, and they fought our forces off for the better part of a day or so, until they decided, hey, you know what, let's toss a couple of javelin missiles at them. And that was the end for those two guys. And we, the company that I worked for, my father's business, built the guidance system for the javelins. So we were telling W, hey, you just got, the two Hussein brothers yesterday. Let me show you the system that made that happen. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, interesting. And his eyes kind of lit up. Yeah, he was really, really impressed, and he got a kind of a chuckle out of it. And that's why they visited us, because we were a defense contractor,
right?
And we built very sophisticated weaponry and systems for all branches of the military. So for him to come, it was for that reason, and it just happened that the Hussein boys were at the business end of Javelin that we built the guidance system for.
That's super cool. Who's the creepy guy photobombing W over his shoulder? Is that one of your employees?
That's one of about 30 Secret Service guys that were there. Interesting. I don't know how much time we have, but I'll share an interesting story about how you prep.
No, absolutely.
A location. Okay, so a lot of this is dog and pony. You see all the Secret Service agents, he's on stage, and I had to warm up. I did warm up back then for W, if you could believe it.
You opened for W?
I opened for W, yep. And I'm standing at the podium on the stage, and I'm just at a regular podium. It's the presidential podium, but there's no seal, right? When they only put that seal on the podium when the man himself is speaking at it. So I left. I walked off stage. He came on. A guy comes up, puts that seal on the front of the podium, and the whole thing changes, right? That's one of many things that happens during a presidential visit. But prior to that, 3 days before he visited, all the streets were shut down. All the local businesses were told, this is, everybody's going on lockdown. Submit compensation papers if you must, but these streets are going to be locked off here. All the black vans come in, all the bomb sniffing dogs, all of the sharpshooters are looking for positions on the roofs around the place. And school buses are placed end to end on some streets to block people from coming down, and who knows what. That was the height of the fear of more Al-Qaeda
Sure.
reprisals, right? So it was only 2 years after 9/11. So we were at a different state mentally then. So a lot of this stuff happened. Metal detectors off and there was only one place to enter the building if you were a visitor, and we had all the employees had to come out. There were 600 people watching this, and it went on for days. This setup, and then finally, the day came that W showed up, in the Beast, the big presidential motorcade showed up, and then the building went into lockdown. Nobody's going to open that door, right? So we did that. But just before that, my sister, who had not been vetted, my sister who lives in Kalamazoo, her background was not checked. There was nothing to find, obviously, but
Right.
she had decided to come at the last minute. Now, everybody, literally 600 people up to that point, metal detectors, background checks, the whole bit, right? I see her running up to the gate at the very last minute, and I turned to a couple of Secret Service guys that I got to know. I said, "Hey, this is my sister. She's late. Can she come in?" They go, "Oh yeah, don't worry about it." So all of this huge security apparatus just out the window for my sister Lisa from Kalamazoo, who couldn't get there on time. No pat down, no nothing. Yeah, sure, go in. She could have been strapped with, C4 and guns, and you know what I mean?
I think just the Kalamazoo reference. Maybe like Kalamazoo was like code for Secret Service.
Yeah, maybe
like it was
like, oh, Kalamazoo. She's a deep cover for CIA. Let her in.
Exactly. That was your safe word.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was,
say Kalamazoo. Anybody gets in.
It was a fascinating day. W was a very nice man, gregarious. I got to speak with him for probably 10 minutes.
Wow.
He was his big concern that day was what was happening with Laura and his daughters. They were on the West Coast, and there were fires, I believe, in Washington State, and he was very concerned about them. So he kept asking Secret Service, "Where's their secure phone? I want to call my wife. I want to call my daughters." And so we had one that was designated. It was a landline that was secure, that they had put in and could not be breached by a foreign power. I don't know. Just so much went on. It was fascinating to watch.
That is cool. There's another picture here with you, and let's pull this up, Sean, real quick. Picture you with who I thought was Bernie Sanders when I saw this picture at your house, but that's your old man right there. So it's you on the far right, and then your dad, and then who's the guy between you? And that's John McCain on the far left.
Yep, and that's my older brother Scott. He's the president of the company. He's right next to John McCain, and McCain visited us twice actually, for the same reasons that W did. But although this was 2008, this was the 2008 election, and politicians love to portray strength when it comes to the military. Americans want their presidents to be up on and supportive of all things, about the military. So they love coming to places like our business because it's a very high-tech place, very well known, and no troubles, no scandal, no weirdness. So they vet us, and they like to show up. So John McCain was there. That was a great day for me. John McCain is one of my legitimate heroes. I don't know if you can see it just behind my brother over his left shoulder. There's that worm, Lindsey Graham. Do you see him? You see his nose?
Oh, I didn't know who that was. I thought, okay, again, another photo bomb, but this is not
that's
Secret
Lindsey
Service.
Graham.
This is Lindsey
That's
Graham.
right.
Okay.
Lindsey Graham, who portrayed himself as John McCain's best friend, and just wound up being a disloyal little shit. But
Right.
anyway, it was a good day, and I I had an embarrassing moment because, as I often do in these things, there was a piece of equipment that we build for these particular aircraft, for fighter aircraft, for all kinds of things we build for them. But there's one that makes the wing flaps go up and down, and the landing gear retract and deploy.
Okay.
And we had built these parts for a very long time, and one of them was that we had kept as a historical piece. It was on a plane just like the one that McCain was shot down in over Vietnam. And
Wow.
I presented it to him, and I was so, like I said, he's one of my heroes. And I was a little overcome because I had read his books. I had read so much about him, and I was nervous. And I said, "Hey, this is a wing flap actuator for the plane that you flowed. I couldn't get the word "flew" out, and I think I tried it 3 times. It was so embarrassing, and the cameras were rolling. The news is there, and of course, our mutual friend Russ Brown was there, and he has never let me forget that. he'll go.
Comedians have that tendency.
Flied, flown, flop, flip, whatever.
Nonetheless, some great stories, and to get a chance to meet your hero like that had to be incredibly cool.
Yeah, it was very cool.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, really great guy.
When did you start? So now we have Bob the boxer, we have Bob the businessman, we have Bob who is and I'm just going to say that you personally took out Saddam Hussein's kids. For the record,
should be in
I'm just going to say that you did it. Yes,
yeah, that's fine.
Exactly. That should be. Yeah, Sirius XM satellite radio. Get his album $10 gift card. Sal and Bob Show podcast. And by the way, Bob personally took out Saddam Hussein's 2 kids. Please welcome to the stage, Bob Phillips.
Yeah, I ordered the Japanese.
How did? Yes, Bob makes javelin missiles in his garage. How did you start doing comedy then? How did this evolve? How did Bob the boxer, Bob the businessman turn into Bob the comedian?
Well, you know what? Literally everything goes back to the fact that I'm one of 8 children, Irish Catholic family. Mother was from Newfoundland, but her grandparents emigrated from Ireland. So it's Irish blood, right? And in big families, you don't know you're doing it, I don't think, as a kid, but you're looking for ways to get the attention on you because there's so much going on. And everybody needs something, right? When you're a kid. Now, my brother didn't need that kind of thing. I did. My brother was and is just the smartest man I've ever met in my life. And he just kind of sailed through all that and, got 2 degrees, hugely successful businessman. I was always just kind of looking for my spot, because I didn't know where I fit. So I was sort of drawn to these solitary pursuits like boxing, like comedy. I didn't need anybody else to do them. And I think that's what I love about them. I've often said that stand-up comedy is a lot like boxing because you live or die by yourself all the time and everywhere. Nobody's coming to save you. So you better know what you're doing.
How did business and boxing help your comedy?
I think maybe my business experience, I think, helped me understand the business of comedy. And as we both know, there is a business of comedy that you better get familiar with quick, because if you're going to succeed, I mean, it's a numbers game like any other business, right? And like there's an old axiom, if this is show business, remember that business is twice as long as the word show, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I think having that, that background, it taught me how to deal with club owners. It taught me how to deal with the politics of it all. And we know there's politics involved. And I guess I approached it and came to it with an advantage over somebody who's never been in business, because I navigated it the same way I navigated a business meeting. Like, okay, this is me. This is what I have to say. How do I get to play this club? What do you need from me? Oh, I need to show you this. I got 5 minutes. I got 10 minutes. You're coming up the ladder. And when you understand that you have to reach these milestones before you can be a successful comedian, I think it helps.
How long were you doing it when you and I? How long were you doing it when you and I met? Because I remember that gig that we were at. It was an Italian restaurant, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was called Rocca's. I remember that
Yes.
whole night.
Yeah.
This was almost 20 years ago. I'm going to say 19 years ago, 18 years ago.
Yeah.
I think I had been at it for 6 months. And I remember the promoter, who was also a comedian, Mike Malik, really funny guy, good friend of mine and a friend of yours.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He was telling me, I said, well, who's headlining tonight? And he says, we got this heavy hitter coming in from Florida. And I said, yeah, what's his name? He said, Derek Richards. And I had heard of you. Your name was known back then. It's better known now. And I thought, okay, I want to see this guy because I've heard about him. And that was a fun show. It was a fun show. I learned a lot that night.
That was a blast. I remember seeing you up on stage, and you're in your suit. You walk up, and you just had just this. I mean, just a Gatling gun of sarcasm, and just you did not care attitude. I mean, you cared about the product, but I mean, you just didn't care what you said. And I was dying. And I remember you and I talking afterwards, and I said, "You are really funny."
And that, my friend, has stuck with me for almost 20 years now, and I appreciated that because it validated, the voice that I, sort of started with, that sarcastic sort of humor that I still am drawn to.
Right.
So I appreciated that.
No, because you were doing something that nobody else was doing. First off, you came up on stage dressed to the, in a tailored suit, and just hearing what you were saying come out of the character that was on stage, to me, just absolutely killed me. So, I mean, now for you starting later on in life in comedy, so you started, how old were you when you first went up on stage then?
40.
What would be?
I had done a lot of personal, I don't want to say personal. I've done a lot of public speaking up to that point for my company, for business, that kind of thing. But I had never done comedy. So, yeah, I was 40.
What do you say to anybody who's looking to start later on in comedy? What would you say were the benefits and also the drawbacks of you starting at age 40?
Well, the benefits are that if you're serious about it, which I was, I was deadly serious about that, and I am now. I want to put on a good show. I want to tell jokes that people haven't heard before. I want to, convey a certain body of humor to people. I think if you're serious about it from the get, if you have a background like that, it helps you get to the point quicker, and it helps you understand that your job is not to please yourself. People are paying to see you, and you better get funny and entertaining quick, or you're not going to have any success at all in this crazy business. And that's,
no, you're
right. I think that's a benefit, that I had coming at it as a 40-year-old man and lots of business experience. But if there's a drawback, I think it took me a while to get club owners to know that I was serious, and that this just wasn't just a sideline for me. Well, I think some of them might have looked at it as a midlife crisis. It took me a long time to headline in this town. It took me a long time to headline.
Well, you never get respect in your hometown.
Yeah.
You know, that's that old
Yeah.
adage, and it's true. I mean, you need to leave and then come back, or leave and then all of a sudden approach it. Well, yeah, I'm Bob Phillips. I'm in Chicago now, and they're like, oh, you're in Chicago. You're no longer in Detroit. So
Right.
because you somehow found a U-Haul or Mayflower, now all of a sudden that validates you for whatever reason.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. So
Now you
there's
talk about
pluses to it, but I wasn't going to let any of it stop me, and I just, for good or bad, I just kept going, and that's what people say. What advice do you have for me as a new comedian? Just keep going, just keep writing, just keep going. If you know it here, if you feel it here, keep doing it, because you're going to get better, and your opportunities are going to come.
Well, like boxing and business. You're
Yeah.
going to get hit. You're going to get your hits in boxing, and you get your hits in business. It's just the way life is, and you got to keep coming back. And as long as you keep staying one step ahead of the game, you're always going to end up coming out ahead. Now, you talk about getting to the funny quickly or being funny fast. Your Twitter account, and I recommend anybody who is checking out this podcast to go on your Twitter account and follow you. You have some of the funniest Twitter stuff that I've seen.
Nice.
And going back to your comment about getting funny fast, your stuff is so tight and so well crafted, and I've seen you put these things together. I've seen you bounce some ideas off of me before, and and not many, because your Twitter stuff is hysterical. How do you think that has helped you in your comedy?
From what you said in the lead into this, Twitter, you gotta get to the funny fast. I don't know what it started off as 140 characters, maybe it's 280 now, but I very rarely go beyond the original 140. You've got to find something funny in that really small space and cut out all extraneous stuff that takes away from it. And it's a voice. Twitter has a voice to it in terms of comedy. Somebody once said that Facebook is where you go to make your life look better than it is, and Twitter is where you go to make your life look worse than it is. It's very sometimes it's very sarcastic. It's self-deprecating.
Sure.
That's my favorite thing to do on Twitter, to make fun of myself. Bang, bang, bang. You had a great tweet the other day about Epstein. It's one-liners. I don't know. It's hard for me to talk about. I just know. I know when it feels right up here.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'll
and that tweet just came into my head literally like 2 years too late. But I'm like, I wish I thought of this earlier. You're like, nah, go ahead and post it. And the tweet was, dear Mr. Cotter, Jeffrey didn't kill himself. Signed, Epstein's mother. And anybody under age 48 has no idea what you and I are talking about. No clue. And I could care less. If you're 48 and up and you're laughing your ass off at that, that's all I care about.
Yeah, it's a great tweet, but it wound up being somewhat timely because one of his henchmen just hung himself in France, right?
There's a pattern.
Yeah. Yeah, Ghislaine Maxwell's looking around for a rope going, hey, get this out of my cell.
What is I'm going to pull up some pictures here in just a second. Not quite yet, but I want to hear the worst gig. Everybody always talks about, it's easy to talk about the gigs you did well at.
Yeah.
What's the worst gig?
I want to say it was a gig I did years and years ago at a place called the Holly Hotel that you have done. And Michigan comedians know all about the Holly Hotel, and you've had and all of us have had fantastic shows there, and we've all had some clunkers because of Late Show Saturday. They should have always had just one show Saturday instead of breaking it up in two, because Late Show Saturday, all the idiots come out. They're drunk and they're stupid, and there's not a lot of them, but just enough to disrupt the show. So I had a show there, I don't know, 6 or 8 years ago, And it's one of those things where you wish you weren't the headliner. You're like, Jesus, I would have paid to be the middle tonight so I can get the hell out of here. So there was a table full of drunks, and I mean drunks, 12 of them. And then there were like 2 people in the middle of the room and 2 people over here. So there might be 16 people in a 120 seat thing. And one guy was just so obnoxious, he just kept shouting, just kept yelling and yelling. And there's no policing this room. There's nobody there. The owners have gone home. They've ceded the room to these drunks and 2 waitresses who are probably 19. And I think the bartender went home. So I'm bouncer and comedian, and I was literally screaming at this guy, and he was screaming back at me, and I'm trying to keep my promise to get my show done. Now, they did have some pity on us. Instead of having to do 50 minutes, we, did 40, right? That was the late show. You can go a little short. Right? So it was 40 minutes of combat comedy of just yelling back and forth. And there was some funny in the middle of all that, when you're dancing and you're just trying to survive a show. But the guy had the nerve to go on Yelp and complain about me. I don't know how he did this. He was so drunk. He was telling people that I was the worst comedian he'd ever seen. It's like I'd never done comedy before. And I just thought, oh, this is great. And of course, the owners saw it.
Of course.
The owners came to me and complained to me about the show. And I said, I'm not having any of this. You had no idea what happened in that room. It was mayhem. It was utter horseshit. And no comedian should ever have to go through this, right? So at the end of the day, I got complained about.
Wow. Yeah. And that doesn't surprise me. The particular management of that place. I can see that unfolding the way that it did. Wow. That is brutal. What's your pet peeve?
A comedy pet peeve?
Or any pet peeve. We can go comedy pet peeve, and then regular pet peeve.
Let's talk regular, because I know there's one that I need to get out here. This is about toast, and am I right? Is this what you were thinking of? Okay, because we've been on the road together many times, and I'm just gonna say this, okay? You know your job, I know my job. When we go to get on stage, make the people laugh, right? That's what we do. And the shortest way to that is to tell, well-crafted jokes that have been tested out, and bang, 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 everybody has a good time. So when we're eating breakfast together, as we have often, Derek has, you've had to listen to me say this, but these breakfast places we go to, they have one job, and that's to serve breakfast. And an integral part of breakfast is buttered toast. Why can they not get the butter on the toast? Well, how is this such a problem? You've seen short order cooks. They have buckets, of melted toast and a paintbrush. They have a paintbrush, and all they got to do is pull the bread up and go blah 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 blah. Boom, mass coverage, right? Everything you need right there. No, it comes to the table. There's a micron of butter over here on this edge. And it's cut. First of all, the toast isn't cut properly. Instead of in half, it's like you got a 70% piece here and a 30 piece. How do you mess this up? Okay, that's my. that is a.
I knew I would get this reaction. I knew I would get this reaction.
I'm getting itchy talking about it. But I'm not that petty in real life. I'm not. It's just like that one thing. I promise you. I guess a comedy pet peeve. You know what? Okay, when you were coming up as an MC, your job, memorize the headliner's credits and the middle's credits and their name, and talk about, and go out, do your job. Don't bring paper on stage, but I'll even allow that if somebody's very new, just so they can read credits. Now I don't. I know this is going to be very old manish, complaining about the younger generation, But my comedy pet peeve right now is that MCs have forgotten that there's a way to run a show. There's a methodology to it, and you've got to get the middle's credits right. You've got to get their name right. You got to do the same for the headliner, and be cognizant of that you're running a show. You are the linchpin for how this show is going to go, and there's 300 people watching this thing. Know that when you go in, it's your business to start and manage that show. I don't know what happened. They don't teach it anymore. I think
a lot of the problem is that you end up having certain comedy clubs and certain managers where they just that position is the lightest paid position on the show, and sadly is probably one of the most important positions on the show to get it started properly, get the crowd in the right mood, get them focused, and just bring out the other comedians. And it's kind of the point now where I just say, listen, here's my I'm from Las Vegas, with the Irish Comedy Tour, Derek Richards, and I go, you know what? If you forget everything and just say Derek Richards, I don't care.
That's what I've.
I just don't. I just don't care. I literally. You know what? It's like you go into the breakfast place and they keep jacking up your toast, and you go, listen, I don't care if the eggs are just raw. Just cut the bread in half, toast it, give me some butter.
Get that part right. Yes. You're like a POW. You just know you're going to get poked with a stick, and you go, just poke. Exactly. You know what? Do me a solid. Just poke me here today, not here again. Yeah. You're just cashing your chips. I just did shows at the Ann Arbor Comedy Showcase, and the MC that weekend knew what he was doing, was funny, knew the middle's credits, knew the headliner credits, everybody, and he took charge and he did it. He's been paying attention. So I complimented him afterward. I said, hey, you know what? I'm really appreciative of what you did. It's show generalship. Come out and start running the show. And he did a great job, and I told him so.
Well, that's great. I hope he appreciated it and took your compliment to heart. Good.
Yeah.
What you got your podcast, the Sal and Bob Show? How did that start off? Great podcast, by the way. People should absolutely dial in.
Thank you. We got to have you on again soon. But it's usually when we've been drinking in the backyard.
Yes.
And hey, you guys want
backyard,
to do a show?
Your living room, the kitchen, wherever. If you light the fire out back, we should record a podcast. And then I think we did one time, and we listened back to it, and we're like, that's not a keeper.
Yeah, we've done that. Well, it got started.
But I think we recorded it, and we thought it was the greatest piece of podcasting ever. This is amazing.
Wow. Yeah.
This will go viral. Suck it, Joe Rogan. Watch this.
Yeah, viral like COVID. So Sal and I have been wanting to do a podcast. This is about 4 years ago, and Sal and I have done so many. I don't know. And I'm not talking Sal and Bob shows. Over the years, he and I have probably done 200 shows together. Sure. I've opened for him. He's opened for me, back and forth throughout it all over the United States. Well, he wanted to do this where it was centered in steakhouses. And we would talk about the steakhouse. We'd talk about the food we were eating. We'd talk comedy. We'd talk things that we love, gambling, sports, entertainment. So every show is that. And I thought it was a great idea. And we've been doing it for almost 4 years now, and 160 episodes, I think. And it's a hoot. And that show is kind of like Twitter. It's another way. It's another forum to write jokes and to speak to a different audience. So we have fun with it, and we go around the country and on location. Sometimes we just do it in the studio, but that's what we do.
No, it's a great podcast. The Sal and Bob Show, wherever you get your podcast, go and find those guys. I want to pull up a couple pictures here. You've had some success working with some people through the years. Sean, let's go ahead and pull up that picture of Bob with Artie Lang.
Yeah.
on the Anthony Cumia show. Well, this is back when it was Artie and Anthony.
Yeah.
And Artie is a funny dude. I've
Oh,
never
God.
met him. I wanted to meet him. I've never met him. Funny guy. I
Yeah.
read his book, Too Fat to Fish. And you think, you think you do dumb things in life, and then you start reading somebody's book like that, and you go, okay, I'm okay. I'm fine.
Yeah. I'm going to give myself a break. But Artie is one of the funniest people on the planet. And it's been so long since I've seen that. That's probably a 3-year-old picture. And I was probably 20 pounds lighter then. That was me every time I was on the show with him. I was holding my gut because he's so achingly funny. And Anthony, to my right, is busting me up. And I'm in the middle of these two titans, just trying to hold my ground and just having a great time. And Artie is so welcoming and such a good guy. And I think that you can just see, in his face here, this was when he was still having troubles. He was kind of in and out of using. And I think he's in a much better place now. But he's never stopped being funny, ever.
Yeah, hilarious. I mean, you want to talk about somebody who's got some demons. That's read his books. That's all I'm going to say. Make your own opinions.
Yeah.
And he's got a couple of them.
He doesn't have any pretense about anything. He doesn't put on airs. He doesn't care what anybody thinks of him. And he is universally nice to everyone in that studio. Every time I was there with him.
That's so cool.
And Anthony's the same way. Great guy.
Yeah, I had hopped on the show right after Dave Landau had joined. And then Artie had was no longer with the program. And Anthony was fantastic. I was really looking forward to meeting Artie as well. I'm disappointed that never happened.
Yeah, I don't know that he goes on anymore. They seem to have had a falling out, but whatever. Artie seems to be taking care of himself these days. I'm happy about that.
No, that's always great to hear. Now, this next picture is you and Tom Arnold. I'm going to pull this up. This is a great shot. You guys at the Comedy Castle in Royal Oak, Michigan, where you recorded your album, $10 gift card, by the way, which people should snag a copy of that. If you buy it from Bob in person, it's $8.67, and he wants exact change, by the way.
I got to have exact
That
change.
line that kills me.
And that was
you working with Tom Arnold.
Yeah. Great guy.
I love that. I love that throwaway line. Tom Arnold. Would it be whenever people talk about Tom Arnold, and you know this, and I'm sure Tom knows this too, everybody always is like, Tom Arnold. Oh, you mean Roseanne's husband? Oh, he's tagging onto her coattails. But you worked with him. You did an entire weekend with the guy. Tell me about him.
I am a huge fan. Okay, I'm a huge fan of Tom Arnold. I was not a huge fan of his comedy before because I had never heard his stand-up. I just knew him as a comedic actor, and I thought he was always funny. I mean, True Lies, he's so great in that with Schwarzenegger, right? And a lot of other films. He's just a funny guy to watch. By the way, he's a big guy too. For some reason, I thought he was going to be, 5'8", 5'9", kind of rotund. No, he's like 6'2.5", big dude, and just again a very nice man. Lots of stories. He shared so many things backstage with me in the green room. It was just the two of us doing the show, and I watched it. By the way, he did 80 minutes, and I thought I got to see what it's like to do 80 minutes. Okay. And I thought, well, it's going to be a lot of showbiz stories. It's going to be some anecdotes. It's going to be a few jokes thrown in, and he's just going to keep talking. Now, he has the best set I've ever seen at that length. 80 minutes.
Wow.
All strong gold. And he does it, and he's such a good actor. He's such a good comedic actor. He has the entire audience, and he had me fooled that he was thinking of half of this stuff on the fly. Like, oh, I just remembered one thing. Oh, I got to tell you this, right? No, I went out and I downloaded his album after the first night and then listened to it in my car and went, it's exactly what he did last night. It's so polished and so perfect that you believe every hesitation, every and oh, just, you know what? I forgot to tell you guys this. It's that good. And I would say download his CD if you haven't.
What a great great experience when you work with somebody who is a celebrity and they end up exceeding any expectations that you had, which is
Yeah,
great.
he really did. And he was just a nice guy. He's a nice guy.
Mhm.
He's been to the top. He's still very popular in Hollywood. He makes a ton of money. And he was saying to me, "Why are you only doing 10 minutes up front?" I said, "Because you're doing 80." He goes, "Well, maybe you do 20." I said, "No, they got to flip the room." I mean, he kind of knows that inherently. He's been in a million comedy clubs, but I
Right.
said, "No, I'm just the fluffer. That's all I am tonight. I'm doing 10 minutes up front. And ladies and gentlemen, Tom Arnold, right?" So he goes, "No, I want you to do more time." I said, "Tom, I'd love to, but the room manager won't let that happen because they're very rigid here about flipping it." So he went and spoke to Jerry. You remember Jerry, right?
Yeah.
The Comedy Castle room manager. He's no longer
Mhm.
there. And he said, "Look, can he at least do 15?" And of course, Jerry tells Tom Arnold, the guy who sold the place out and everybody's coming to see, I don't know. He goes, "Bob, do 15." So I got to do 15 the next couple of shows, right? He was advocating for me, and that was cool.
Well, we went ahead and we started looking because now, ever since I saw that photo of George W. Bush and the Secret Service guy, I've been looking around for photo bombs in
Yeah.
pictures. And Sean actually pulled this thing up. Sean did some enhanced. Look at him over your shoulder. Just
Oh, that guy again.
yeah, that Secret Service
Yes,
guy.
it's
He
like
shows up.
they're following me
It's like
everywhere.
it's like you're watching a scary movie, and all of a sudden,
Oh, by the way,
the
why do I
photos
look
get
like a
developed from the
Klingon in
kid's
this
birthday
picture?
party. What's that?
What's with my forehead and my bridge of my nose? I look like a Klingon. I look like a Star Trek, and I look like I'm like a cholo. I'm wearing a cholo hairnet. I shouldn't
And
complain. I
and
gave you
you,
that picture.
and you have a creepy guy over your shoulder.
I do that. It's like something out of The Sixth Sense.
Exactly. All right, three. Before we cut you loose here, three random stupid questions that I always like to ask a guest.
I
It
am
has
the king of
absolutely
answering
nothing.
stupid questions.
It has nothing to do with anything. By the way, bobphillipscomedy.com is your website. Go on there to find your Twitter platform as well as or your Twitter profile as well as Facebook and Instagram as well. Find out when Bob is going to be doing shows. These very cool Sal and Bob shows have been happening over at Genetti's over there in Northville. If you're in the Metro Detroit area, highly recommended to see one of those. A very unique format to that show that is not being done anywhere else. As far as the way you set this thing up, it's like you guys are on stage while the other comedians are up on stage as well.
Yes, it's a sort of a living room setting, and we're in overstuffed chairs behind them. But we're not pranking them. We're not doing the
No.
the bunny ears. We're there to provide
Right.
support because these are newer comedians, and this is a showcase where we're introducing new talent. And we have musical accompaniment. Howard Glazer, one of the best blues guitarists literally in the world, is up on stage with us, and it's just a party. It's a party. At the end, everybody comes out, and we're doing trivia, giveaway items, and we've sold out 5 shows in a row, and we intend to do that.
Now,
for the rest
Genetti's in
Yep.
Northville. Fantastic restaurant. Laura Genetti is an absolute lunatic.
Well,
Tell her I said hi.
I will.
Yeah, she is a lunatic though. She cracks me up.
She is, but she
She
has
just
to be a little
yeah.
lunatic to run her business.
Oh yeah, and the food there is fantastic. Genetti's in Northville.
really
Check
is.
out the next Sal and Bob show. It's going to be there. Okay, 3 random questions for you, Bob.
Right.
Before we cut you loose, dear
Okay.
Abby, I'm having some trouble with blank, and would like your advice.
You want me to fill in the blank?
Yes.
Okay.
Dear Abby, I'm having some trouble with blank, and would like your advice. This is you writing to
Getting
Abby.
to the punchline, if you catch my drift.
There we go. I'm going on a cleanse this week. Nothing but kale juice and blank.
Nothing but kale juice and a prolapsed colon.
Finally, for you, Bob Phillips, how am I maintaining my relationship status?
What relationship? Which relationship? The fractured ones in my family from my comedy career, or my drunken friends? I mean, what are you talking about?
Bob Phillips, can't thank you enough, my friend. BobPhillipsComedy.com. Check out the Sal and Bob Show comedy podcast, and also grab a copy of a $10 gift card. And my friend, I can't thank you enough for your time. As always, good to see you, bud.
Thanks for having me on. You're one of my comedy heroes. You have been very good to me over the years. Lots of opportunities. I appreciate them all. And people, you got to get Derek's new album. It is Burning Up XM Sirius, or Sirius XM as they call it now. It's one of the only comedy albums I've heard of recently that got a full play on Raw Dog. That doesn't happen. It's usually just clips, right? You got a full album play. That's a big deal. And that's because it's a funny album. So buy that, folks.
You're very, very kind. Thank you so much. This show's about you, not about me, but thank you. I'll see you soon, my friend. Wine and DoorDash next time. Absolutely.
Bye.
Take care, my friend. Bob Phillips here on A Drink with Derek. And such a good time, some great stories. And again, check out the podcast, The Sal and Bob Show. Huge thanks to our sponsor, VegasSportsAdvantage.com. If you're going to go ahead and bet sports, use your brain, not your heart. Let these guys do the legwork. Save some money. 35% off any of their packages. Vegas Sports Advantage. Type in the promo code Derek35. Also grab a copy of my album, Double Down, as Bob was so gracious to compliment it. Double Down, available on iTunes, Spotify, and Amazon. And see the Irish Comedy Tour when we come to your neck of the woods. If we're not in your neck of the woods, then you should come to our neck of the woods. See the special first, the Irish Comedy Tour on Amazon Prime, and then see the show, theirishcomedytour.com, starting off on March 3rd at Old Saybrook, Connecticut. You see all the dates right there in front of you. Myself, Derek Kane, Damon Liebert, along with Patrick Garrity and Michael Malone joining us this year. Thank you for dialing in today. Appreciate it. I'm Derek Richards. We will see you next time here on A Drink with Derek. See ya. Bye.
You're watching Conservative Television of America, working hard to stick socialism where the sun don't shine.